Hello everyone, and welcome to today's practice. We've got today a thorough practice that encompasses the three basic prongs of a full yoga practice, and that is strength building, flexibility building, and balance. And sort of underlying all of that, of course, is the focus on our breathing. And it is really, the breath is a force multiplier in all the benefits of yoga, but particularly in today's practice, if you can stick with that. Remember, the breath is even more important than the poses as far as I'm concerned. Anytime if you need to have a pause, you can come back to any seated pose if we're on the ground and just focus on your breathing. If we happen to be standing, of course, you can just come back to Tadasana and focus on your breath until we move on to the next thing. So you've always got that option. You may find it beneficial. Today, of course, we always have a rug or a blanket, but to have bricks, if you do own bricks, then keep them handy. I've brought in just a little stool, but you may not need anything such as this. We are going to do a little practice in a forward bend series. So sometimes a kitchen chair, a little stool like this, if you really want to focus on alignment a little bit and the breathing, it gives you a little leverage to do that. Up to you. Okay? So if you need to pause the video and get a chair or a brick, you can do that now. And now we'll all come into a comfortable seated posture of your choice. And just allow yourself to settle for just a moment or two. Just feel the letting go in the shoulders, letting go in all the muscles that you're holding around your throat and jaw. And just allow yourself to really focus on the part of the body that's touching the floor for just a couple of breaths more. And then allow yourself to feel a lengthening through the spine as you press against the part of the body that's touching the floor. So just a brief little breathing practice that might really teach you to incorporate some of the muscles that assist breathing and will also lead to assisting your yoga practice if we learn to strengthen those muscles. And that is, as you sit there, I just want to go through this 2 or 3 times and have a little practice and see how it feels in your body. And then we can just explore it a little bit. So as you're sitting there, and the next time you exhale, you're just really allowing that exhale to leave the body in a nice relaxed way. Maybe letting the shoulders release away from the ears just a little bit. And then at the end of that exhale, if you can just bring the shoulders back in space just a little bit. And then hold that so that the next time you inhale, I want you to feel as though the sides of your shoulders and the upper arms are pressing against an imaginary door frame as you inhale as fully as you can. And then again, you're exhaling and releasing. Nice, easy exhale. At the end of that exhale, you're just moving these shoulders back in space just slightly so the shoulder blades come closer in towards the spine. You're holding that so that when you inhale, you can feel as though you're pressing against an imaginary wall on either side of the upper arms and sides of the shoulders or a door frame. And just notice the expansion in the chest when you do an inhale in that way. And then nice easy release as you exhale. And shoulder blades come slightly closer together at the end of that exhale. And you're holding that position so that when you inhale, you're feeling as though the sides of the shoulders and the upper arms are pressing against an imaginary door frame. And then release as you exhale. I want you to continue breathing long, slow breaths. I'm just going to give a very quick little explanation of that. And so names of the muscles aren't important, but when you draw those shoulder blades back together again, you're actually activating muscles that are really important in posture, but also in breathing, to breathe fully and completely. And so as you bring those shoulder blades back in space and then you stabilize, you hold the posture, you're actually incorporating the muscles closer to the shoulder blades, and a muscle that is called the serratus anterior, which is really asleep in most adults. And so all we try to do with breathing and yoga is to sort of engage those muscles a little bit. So I want you to try what we just did. Practice that again. So as you exhale the next time, releasing, nice easy breath, and at the end of that exhale, you just move those shoulders back in space and feel the shoulder blades going closer to the midline. And hold that as you inhale, pressing those upper arms into that imaginary wall on either side, and feeling the expansion as fully and completely as you can through the chest and the sides of the body. And let's let it go as you exhale, releasing. Shoulders away from the ears. And then at the end of that exhale, shoulder blades go closer together. And as you inhale, pressing those upper arms as you inhale fully against that imaginary door frame. And just do this a couple more times on your own, and just notice it's actually easier the second time that we're practicing. So you're just releasing on the exhale, nice easy exhale, nice long exhale. And at the end of that, you're attempting to just get the shoulder blades a little closer together and holding that position as you inhale as fully as you can, as you press the sides of your shoulders and upper arms away from each other. And then nice easy release on the exhale. And just one more time, bringing those shoulder blades closer together behind you, holding that position. And on the inhale, pressing the upper arms and sides of the shoulders outward, as if you're trying to press into an imaginary wall on either side. And release. Lovely. Continue to breathe like this, or those long full breaths, and let the arms release to the sides of the body, turning the palms outward as you inhale. Breathe the arms up over the head. Separate those fingers so it feels like the stretch is coming all the way from the midline of your waist, all the way up to the finger points as you inhale next. Really reach up. And as you exhale, let's release those arms, big semicircle, hands to the heart. Namaste. Let's come on down to the floor, and we're going to start moving sort of quickly, but thoroughly, and through little warm-ups here. So you're coming to the back, and when you get there, have any little stretch you'd like to have. You know, I love the full frontal stretch, but just see what really feels good to you right now. Have a full stretch. And then bend the knees when you're ready. Put both soles of the feet on the floor. Just feel the body just release into the floor for a breath. And then let's begin breath and movement. The next time you exhale, you're bringing the right thigh close into the body, interlocking your hands just in front of the shin. Stretch the left leg out. As you inhale, it can move away, that right thigh, a little bit, but as you exhale, just cozy it right in close, and you can press that left leg nice and long against the floor. Just a couple breaths like that. and really stay astutely aware of all the sensations that little movement causes in the body. Nice full breathing. Lovely. Next time you inhale, you're going to stretch the right leg out. Press the sole of the foot towards the ceiling. You can interlock behind the thigh, but try to get the heel pressed up as much as you can and just feel whatever's happening in your body. Bend and extend the knee just a couple, 3 times. And then let go with your interlocked hands and just press that leg up just as much as you can. And then with a slight engagement in your abdominal core, just bring that right leg to the floor. Lovely. And then bring the left leg in. You know what to do. Interlock your hands just above the left shin. As you exhale, bring that left knee and thigh closer into the body. And make sure that right leg is active. The toes are pointing up to the ceiling with that extended leg. And so don't let that leg get floppy. As you exhale, bring the left thigh in towards the body. Do you feel anything in your low back when you do that? Just notice. Exhales, you're cozying it nice and close in towards the chest or towards the body. As you inhale, you can let it come away. Next time you inhale, stretch the left leg up and the sole of the foot is pointing up to the ceiling. Interlock your hands just behind that thigh. Just hold that for a moment and just notice any tightness in the back of that thigh. Just notice anything that's happening. Can you release your shoulders against the floor just a little bit more? Lovely. And then bend and extend the knee just about maybe 3 times. And then press the left leg up again, nice and straight, or as straight as you can get it. Let go in the arms and press the heel away. And whatever happens is fine. Just notice all sensations as you exhale. Tummy muscles are nice and firm as you bring that left leg to the floor. And once it's there, let's bend both knees, put the soles of the feet on the floor. As you inhale next, you're just going to bring the arms back behind you, raise the hips, dig into your heels as much as you can, coming into a nice easy bridge pose, and then we're going to exhale and come back down again. As you inhale, arms rise, hips rise, and try to dig into those heels as you raise up as much as you can through those hips, and then exhale, release. And then again on the inhale, arms rise up, hips rise up. And remember to put a little focus on pressing a little more in with those heels on the floor. Very good. The next time you exhale, leave your arms elevated above the head and slowly bring just your hips back down. Just see whatever contortions that might cause in your body and see if you can let your abdominal core muscles, make sure nothing funny happens, like you're not bowing up in the back. As you come down, use your tummy muscles so you can release your rib cage a little more to the floor. As you inhale next, you're bringing the hips back up again. And then on the exhale, you're lowering both arms and hips back to the floor. And then again, as you inhale, you're rising up with both hips and arms this time. And one more time, as you exhale, you're just lowering the hips. Let your tummy muscles get nice and firm as you bring your hips and back body to the floor again. And then inhale, let's rise back up again with our hips and really try to get as high as you can. A little bit of a back bend here. You might need to press a little more into the heels to make that happen. Dig into those heels, one last little breath. And then exhale. Let's lower hips and lower the arms to the floor. Once you get there, let's bring both knees in towards the chest. And let's just do this little energizing spinal technique now. So I'll move just a little bit so you can see. With knees in towards the chest, you're going to interlock your hands just behind the neck. Elbows nice and wide, chest is nice and broad. As you exhale, the feet are going over to the right and the elbows going over, the right elbow is going over to the right. And then back to center. And then you're exhaling over to the other side. And do this a couple times so your body gets used to that movement. What I want you to try to do is vigorous exhales where you're only focusing on exhales and the movement becomes really quick. So it takes about a minute to really feel the effects in your spine and in your spinal fluid. As much as you can, just keep going with this. Focusing on exhales if you can. Nice quick pulsing breaths. And then slowly, when you've had enough, come to stillness for a moment. Bring the knees a little closer in towards the body one last time. Just feel the effects in the small of your back. And then let's go ahead and come right up to hands and knees position. So from here, of course, you can always roll or come up however you'd like. We're going to end up in our familiar tabletop position. Place yourself in that position. You know what to do. You want to feel a little more weight in the inner hands. And when you're ready, we'll just go right into cat-cow. So on the inhale, pressing into those inner hands, rising the heart, rising the tailbone, looking forward. As you exhale, feel that incremental abdominal engagement as you round your spine, pressing into the hands and finishing that off with just going to that end point in that arching back. And as you inhale, rolling the spine right through your upper arms, looking forward, tipping the tailbone up. As you exhale, find those inner hands as you round the spine with that engaged abdominal core. Just a couple more times like that. Remember, you're morphing this together so that the breath and the movement start to feel as though they're just one thing, one entwined thing, breath and movement. Lovely. And as you exhale the next time, just settle back into your neutral tabletop position, looking down between the hands. Raise the hands one hand length further ahead. Flex your toes under, push the floor away. And let's go ahead and stretch right out into a downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, anything you need to do, I always love to just kind of walk on the spot. Have a little look at your alignment. Make sure your toes are pointing straight ahead. And if you are going to little sort of pedal on the spot, as you put one heel down, make sure that the foot doesn't contort. Try to see if you can push it down thoroughly as you bend the other knee. Just like that. And just see, what does my body need in this downward facing dog? We're all so familiar with it now. So it's lovely to just settle and go inward and maybe discover something a little new about downward facing dog for your body. When you've had enough, go ahead and bring the knees to the floor. And in this position, we're not going to come into a little bit higher low lunge than normal. What I mean by that is we're just going to step forward. This is where you need to judge. Do you need a little padding under your knees? Because in this particular version of a low lunge, the supporting knee is directly underneath you, so it's not as far back as we usually have it. So I want you to notice it's just slightly different from the bog standard lunge. But I want you to put your hands on your hips. I want you to really find a point of sustainability for just a couple of moments in this pose. I want you to be able to feel the sole of your front foot pressing into the floor and the back knee really pressing inward, downward rather, to the floor. And that's where you might need a little padding. So just see, because when you press into that back knee, you will be able to feel a little sort of echo, reverberation of that right in that very upper thigh, right in the groin area. And put your hands right on your hips and feeling the knee press down, the front foot press down. Get really long and extended in your spine. And then assess if all is well. You're just going to bring your arms down as you exhale. Just let them release. As you inhale, you're going to sweep the arms up and reach up just as high as you can. And really bring that rib cage away from the hips. As you exhale next, I want you to draw the elbows down in that little goalpost shape. And you're just tracking the shoulder blades straight down the back. As you inhale next, just sort of press back on the backs of your hands and forearms and open that chest. And as you exhale, abdominal contraction as you bring those forearms closer together in front. Little bit like cat-cow. So as you inhale, you're opening those arms again. Heart looks forward. As you exhale, you're bringing those forearms together. And the next inhale, you can just raise the arms straight up. And as you exhale, you float the arms down. This time you're going to flex your toes under. You're going to come up into a high lunge. You can situate yourself anyway. If you need to wiggle around a little bit, you're trying to point that toe, press that back heel back as far as you can. This is can be quite a stretch on the very top of that back thigh. And from this high lunge, little vinyasa here. As you exhale, you're coming into the pyramid pose. So you're pressing a little more into the ball of the back foot as you attempt to straighten that front leg to the best of your ability. Now, remember, if you've got bricks, sometimes it's quite nice to put your hands on bricks in this little vinyasa. Up to you. As you inhale, you're coming back into the high lunge. And as you exhale, you're coming right into your pyramid pose. And inhale, coming into high lunge. And exhaling into the pyramid pose. So the next time you inhale into your high lunge, you're just going to drop the back knee. And you're going to come back into knees to the floor and then right into downward facing dog. Nice long stretch in your downward facing dog. So as you inhale, you're pressing into the hands, feeling lengthening in the front of the body. The next time you exhale, let's go ahead and touch knees to the floor. And we will do the exact same thing to the other side. So this time, you're going to step forward with the left leg into that little lunge where the front knee is at a right angle, the back knee is directly underneath you. Place your hands to your hips so you can feel the pelvis trying to align. You can feel the front of the foot along the floor, pressing into the floor, and you feel the back knee pressing into the floor. Let your breath be long and slow. If all is well, you just exhale. Allow the arms to come to the sides of the body. When you inhale, you sweep the arms up and reach. And when you exhale, elbows bend and coming into that little cactus shape, that goalpost shape with the arms. As you inhale, you're just attempting to bring those shoulder blades slightly closer together as you press those backs of the hands back in space. And then exhale, abdominal contraction as you round the spine, bringing those forearms and elbows close together in the front. Inhale, open up again. Heart just looking up. And as you exhale, one more time, forearms together. From here, the inhale is going to take the arms right up over the head. And then exhaling, you float those arms down, hands to the floor or to the bricks. Flex the toes under and come into your high lunge. Nice, long, slow breaths. Take a little look back. Make sure those toes in the back are pointing straight ahead. As you exhale, come into your pyramid pose. You want to feel the gradual increase in pressure into the ball of the back foot as you just extend the front leg as much as you can. As you inhale back into the high lunge, lift the heart if you're able. As you exhale into the pyramid pose. Inhale into the high lunge. And last time, as you exhale, coming into pyramid pose. Lovely. And then inhale into your high lunge. And carefully drop that back knee. Hands down to the floor if you're on bricks. Knees down, and then come on into the downward facing dog. Let your breath be long and slow. From this downward facing dog, keeping all you know about downward facing dog in place, we're going to attempt to bring our elbows and forearms to the floor. So before we do that, I want you to feel your inner hands. I want you to feel as though you're trying to press the inner hands into the floor, sort of upward and outward, and then point your elbows straight down, and very carefully, you're trying to set both elbows to the floor at once. If that's not going to work for you, all you have to do is bend the knees, put the forearms on the floor, and then raise your knees back into the dolphin shape again. So remember, dolphin pose is basically downward facing dog on your forearms. Once you find the pose, try to really relax your head and neck as much as you can, and then press the floor away with the elbows, hands, and forearms. And look right behind yourself, maybe between your ankles, between your knees. 3 breaths might be about as long as you want to hold it. If you can hold it longer, maybe 5 breaths, that's fine. When we've had enough, we're going to touch our knees to the floor. I'm going to come back one last time into downward facing dog. On your inhale, come into the plank pose and really integrate those arm bones into the shoulders. And knees to the floor, and slowly tummies to the floor. So situate yourself onto the mat, tummies to the floor. Fingertips are right back by the shoulders or chest. As you inhale, come into a little cobra pose. Bringing those shoulder blades right down your back as you lift your heart. And exhaling, releasing. And then again, as you inhale, just a little rise in the heart. Remember, you're not pressing into the floor, but you might be able to traction back with your hands a little bit, just to assist that movement. And exhale, release back to the floor. And one last time, inhale. Elbows tractioning back, heart lifting, looking forward, maybe holding it for a moment. And release when you need to. Head back to the floor. And just release the arms a little bit. And just let the body get heavy for a breath or two in this prone position. Lovely. And then arrange yourself nice and easily. We're going to come into a Sphinx pose. So you're going to put your elbows and your forearms on the floor. Maybe move just a little bit. Make sure it feels comfortable in the Sphinx pose. And remember, Sphinx is one of the most effective reshaping pose we have for posture. one of them. So all I want you to do is be aware that you don't want to have all of the effort in your low back. Of course, there's effort in your low back a little bit here. When you begin to press into the forearms and you start to traction the floor maybe towards you, I want you to really start to feel the action happen between your shoulder blades. As you inhale and lift a little bit, lift the heart, I want you to feel the back muscles in the upper back around the shoulder blades doing the work as much as you can. And sometimes it helps to just traction a little bit, very slightly isometrically, as if you're trying to bring your arms away from each other left to right. And then when you exhale, release that effort. Go ahead and look down to the floor and just feel the tummy muscles engaging to the point that you feel the belly button maybe lift off the floor a little bit. And then just try it again. As you inhale, your tummy releases. You start to look forward. And with your awareness, allow the effort to lift the heart happen between the shoulder blades. And let's release now. Dig into the heel of your hands a little bit so you can lay yourself back down on the floor. Turn your head left to right, whatever is comfortable, and just have a breath. Really sink into your practice today and come back to your breath again and again and again. And from this prone position, we're all going to come into pose of a child. Little effort to get there just for a moment. And go ahead and start in pose of a child with double fists. And just feel the effects as you release a little bit more into your low back. Just feel that. Next breath, maybe you can come into double hands so the forehead comes a little closer to the floor. And possibly some of you will be able to put your forehead directly on the floor. Now, if that's not accessible to you, don't worry. You can keep your forehead on the hands and just have your long, slow breaths. If, in fact, you can put your forehead on the floor, I want you to interlock your hands behind your backs. And from this position, consciously lift the shoulder and arm junction up, back, and down. So it's definitely hoisted your shoulders away from the floor. And maybe just, you may not be able to straighten the elbows. What I want you to do is just lengthen the arms a little bit. And then I want you to feel as though those interlocked hands are trying to come away from each other, but you're not going to let it happen. So as you pull away with those interlocked hands, but still gripping, I want you to feel what happens in your shoulders. So that is an important integration that we want to remember. If all is well, you might be able to press into the shins and knees and just roll gently onto the crown of the head. You're not putting weight into the neck. You're holding yourself up with the core muscles, and you might be able to lift your arms again, more skyward. This is all, you do it only if it's accessible. You might be way back here, and that's fine. If you are rolling onto the crown of the head, you're not plowing weight into the neck. Remember, you've got to really hold yourself up with the core, with your arms going up to counterbalance. And wherever you are in this pose, we're all going to release right back down. Hips back towards the heels. Arms either to the sides of the body, or for those of you who have forehead on the hands, it's absolutely fine. You're just continuing to breathe fully. And when you're breathing, you're feeling the shoulder blades attempt to move a little bit closer together. Even though your spine is rounded, just feel that little effort. And then we're all going to slowly start to come up. So from the child's pose, as you come up, you're automatically going to be into a kneeling position. And we're transitioning now into the squatting position. If your knees allow it, let's pause here for just a moment. Just feel the effort and the stretch in the calves, the Achilles tendon. Taking our time, we're all going to make our way now into standing. So as you come into standing, any little stretch you need is absolutely fine. And then we're going to all make our way into Tadasana. So as you form Tadasana, first with your awareness and then physically, you know what to do. As you press into the feet, you feel that lengthening through the torso. And just gently turning the palms outward. As you inhale, you're going to breathe the arms up over the head, reaching up nice and high. And as you exhale, you're just going to release. And again, as you inhale, breathing up, just feel the extent of this lengthening. So you're pressing into the feet, and of course you feel the lengthening all through the vertebra of your spine, through the shoulder joint, and all the way up to the fingertips. As you exhale, you're releasing the arms back down again, letting that breath deflate completely. And then you're inhaling and you're inflating completely and feeling the extension. And exhale, release. And so the next time you inhale, you're breathing the arms up over the head. And as you exhale, you're floating down, nice bent knees, floating to the floor gracefully. Your fingertips can touch the floor, or they can touch bricks if you have them and if you want them. From this forward bend position, start to bend the knees and just slowly come onto the balls of the feet. Come into a bit of a kneeling position just for a moment. Once you're in the kneeling position, the next time you inhale, I want you to really come up onto the tippy toes, raise the knees right into the heart space, into the armpit space, and feel yourself just coming into a reverse sort of cat position, because you're doing this on the inhale. You feel the back body really inflate. As you exhale, you're just going to release off of that a little bit with the heels coming closer to the floor. As you inhale, you're lifting the hips away from the heels into a half forward bend. In your half forward bend, bend the knees just a little bit, or release the knees and come into your best Uttanasana or forward bend. So that might involve bringing tummy a little bit closer to the thighs, just as close as you can. And for some of us, it might mean putting hands on the chair, and that's absolutely fine. I want you to fold into the best forward bend that you can. The next inhale, start to bend the knees slightly, and I want you to, with control or with some strength and force, press the feet into the floor and dive upward, coming right back into the starting position. This time, hands to the heart. Nice, long, slow breaths. On the next inhale, reach up. On your exhale, we're going to swan dive to the floor one more time. And this is where you might want to, if you don't have bricks or you don't have the chair, you'll need to really poise maybe your knuckles on the floor. And from this position, on your next inhale, I want you to press the weight more into the right leg and just lift the left leg into a little bit of a half split. So the leg comes right back behind you and you're really pressing into the foot that's on the floor. If you need to, it's okay to just slightly bend that standing leg, but can you try to straighten the leg that's behind you? Just see if you can. Maybe you can straighten both legs, but try to focus on straightening that back leg. As you exhale,
keeping control in that standing leg. Just bend the left leg, bring it in, knee in towards the chest, and then bring that left foot back to the floor. Release your head and neck for just a moment. Let's try the same thing on the other leg. So your hands are either on the bricks, on the seat of a chair, or your knuckles are on the floor. A little bit more weight into the left leg. And then I want you to just bring that right leg back behind you into a half split. Make sure the neck is extended and relaxed. You are looking down and the chin's not towards the chest. Everything is extending. You're not trying to look up though, you're looking right down at the floor. Next breath, can you just try to straighten that back leg a little bit more? As you exhale, you're bending the back knee. With a nice engaged core, you're bringing that knee in towards the chest and then bringing the right leg to the floor. Very good. Little bend in your knees now so that when you inhale, you can press into the floor and come back up to standing. And end up with hands to the heart. Nice, long, slow, full breaths. And so from this Tadasana position, just begin to segue your weight, transfer your weight rather into the right leg. And pressing into that right leg. Bring the left knee up as if it's being lifted with a little marionette string. Hands are still to the heart. On your next inhale, raise the arms over the head, and can you just kick that left leg back? And coming right into your version of Warrior 3. Raising the arms in front, leg behind. Remember, the standing leg can be a little bit bent, but you want to try to straighten that back leg as much as you can. And then bending the standing leg, coming back. If you can, you want to try to bring that left knee back into the upward position. And then release back into the Tadasana pose. Now, some of you might find it easier to step off the mat. I have a difficult time with balance on the mat, but I don't want to get out of the camera frame. So I'm going to stay on my mat. If you need to step off your mat for the second side, then let's do that. So from your Tadasana, hands to the heart. You're letting your weight transfer into the left leg and really feeling the left foot pressing into the floor. Nice and strongly. Then you can raise the right knee. Lifting the arms up and inhaling, kicking that right leg back, and you're just coming into the shape of Warrior 3 as best you can. Remember, you're trying to straighten the back leg. The standing leg can be a little bent if you need it to be. And when you are coming out of the pose, you're going to try to come right back with that knee lifted. And it's all right if you have to struggle a little bit for your balance. And then release back into your Tadasana. And inhaling the arms out to shoulder height. And exhaling, let's put right arm over left. Give ourselves a hug here. Really tightly bringing the arms over each other. Now, can you, when you inhale, just open up and put the backs of the forearms together. This might be as much as some of us can do. If you can go ahead and clasp the bottom hand around the thumb side wrist of the upper hand and bend your knees just a little bit as you sink down. If you're able to, you can cross left leg over right, coming in to the eagle pose. You can always leave your big toe touching on the floor if your balance is dodgy, but it's nice to experiment and explore a little bit here. So there's actually 2 points of focus. Of course, you're trying to raise your elbows to shoulder height, and you'll feel those upper back muscles respond to that. But of course, you're also trying to focus on balance. Just defocus your eyes. Just go inward. And just have 3 long, slow breaths when you find your maximum pose. Release when ready after your 3 long, slow breaths back into your Tadasana. And this time, we're going to inhale again to shoulder height. And when you exhale the arms, the left arm is going to be over the right. Just give yourself as much of a hug as you can. Feel the little pull on the muscles in the arms when you do that. And then you can release the backs of your forearms together. And you clasp, if you're able to, lower hand around the wrist of the upper hand. And from here, weight shifts a little more into the left foot. And you're going to cross right knee over the left. And just let your awareness spread over all of what your body's asking it to do now. And so you're raising those elbows a little bit so that you feel that little pull in your mid-back, but you're also focusing on trying to sink into the balance aspect of eagle pose. And then you have your 3 long, slow breaths, being completely aware of all your inner sensations. And release when you've done that. Coming back into your mountain pose. Just having another 2 or 3 long, slow breaths, pressing the feet into the floor, finding extension in your spine. And then from here, we're going to come into a wide angle forward bend. So keeping, if you've got props and you want to use a chair or a stool to come down on, or if you want to have bricks, now's the time to get those ready. Separating your feet nice and wide. Try to keep the toes pointing more or less straight ahead. If they turn out a little bit, that's okay. Your hands are on your hips. And just begin to feel the anchoredness and the rootedness of your feet into the floor. Strengthen those legs. The next inhale, you press into those feet. And you feel the extension from the bottoms of your feet all the way up your spine. And the next exhale, you just begin to hinge forward at the hips. So the legs stay nice and strong. And you're coming forward, maybe so that your chest is parallel with the floor. Now, if you're using a chair, you can easily put your hands to the chair. If you're using bricks, that should be easy too. If you don't have any of those things, it might be a bit more of a challenge to touch the floor. Just see how you go here. If you need a little bend in your knees, it's okay. It's more of a play in your knees, a relaxation in the knees. It's not bending the knees vigorously. The idea is to keep the legs relatively straight as you come into this forward bend. So wherever you are in this process is absolutely fine. When you come, your hands need to be resting someplace. And if you can, just play with this just a little bit. As you're here and breathing, when you inhale next, can you just imagine that the sits bones are trying to lift up towards the ceiling just a little bit, and then release. And then try that again. As you inhale, Sits bones are pressing upward just a little bit as you dig a little more into the heels. And then release. And let's just see what happens. Can we release a little more? Mainly just hinging at the hip. Can you come forward just a little bit more with the upper body? So it feels as though the upper body is just streaming down between your legs. Let the head and neck relax as much as you can. And release. With every exhale, just let go more and more. Now, some of you might need to come up, and if you do, that's absolutely fine. You're going to come up nice and safely if you need to by bending the knees, digging into the heels, and then coming up with your strength of your core and legs. If in fact you can stay into your forward bend just a little while longer, we're going to plant the weight more into our left hand, either on the brick or seat of the chair or the floor, so that when we inhale next, we can bring our right arm straight up and come into a twist. What I want you to think about, though, is to try to keep your pelvis level, so you don't raise one hip higher than the other. This might mean you can't raise the arm quite as high as normal, but I want you to try to really keep those hips level and just see what happens with accessing the twist more in the upper back. And have a couple breaths in the twist and then release. That right arm comes down. It takes the place of the left hand. As you plant the right arm or right hand into the floor, then you can inhale the left arm up. Same thing on this side. You're trying to keep those hips relatively level and reach up into a twist using mostly the muscles in your upper back, maybe mid-back as well. Nice, long, slow breath, and just breathe and feel into this pose. Lovely, and then exhale and let's release. And for those of you who are already released, of course, you're in Tadasana doing nice, long, slow breaths. And for those of us who are coming up, you're going to be bending the knees, engaging your core, putting your hands to the hips, coming back up with the strength of legs and core. And then let's heel and toe, coming back together into Tadasana. Hands to the heart for just a moment. Lower your eyes. Really long, slow breath here. And opening the eyes. And we're all going to come to the floor from here. So back to the floor again. We're just going to come all the way down to our backs. And stretch the legs out, arms over the head. Just briefly have that full frontal stretch. Any little movement you'd like. Just lean into this and see what feels good right here. Maybe turn your head a little bit side to side. And then put the arms down, bending the knees. And cross the right ankle over the left. Bring your arms out. In fact, for this, let's go ahead and interlock our hands behind our heads and just feel the weight of the elbows on the floor so the chest can stay nice and broad. And from here, nice big inhale. And when you exhale, you're just going to let that right knee come towards the right. And as you do that, I want you to pay attention to keeping your left elbow anchored to the floor. So that knee is only going to go to the right as much as it's able. It's fine, however far it comes. When you feel that natural stopping point, just pause and have a nice full breath. And just patiently breathing and feeling the sensations. You might notice that the right knee comes just a little further towards the floor. It's fine whether it does or doesn't, but you're just aware and allowing whatever stretch your body wants to have right now. Feeling that stretch right in the left side body. And then making sure your head's to center. Tummy is really tucked and with the core engaged as you come up on the exhale. And just uncross and stretch the right leg up. And then bend the right knee and put the right sole of the foot on the floor. And recross left ankle over the right knee. Now on your next breath, big inhale here. And as you exhale, left knee's coming over to the left. And you're really anchoring that right elbow into the floor. So of course it might have the effect of stopping the left knee coming towards the floor, and that's absolutely fine. You're just feeling the effects of your stretch / twist. You're releasing all the muscles in your shoulders and in your jaw and throat. And you're having long, slow breaths. And very likely that left knee can come a little closer just by you releasing. And then looking to the center, or to the ceiling rather, nice core engagement. You're exhaling and coming off the floor. As you uncross, you're going to stretch that left leg up and press it towards the sole of the foot towards the ceiling, and then bend the knee. Have just a little pause here. Arms can either stay where they are with the hands interlocked, or if it feels better, you can bring them out. Your choice here. And put the soles of the feet together and just open up into your supine bound angle, or Baddha Konasana. And 3 breaths here. You're really breathing into that belly and feeling the tummy rise up when you inhale. And then to come out, you're pressing the soles of the feet together, lifting the knees, and then bringing the heels away from each other. So I want to invite you, if you'd like to just try just a very brief little inversion here. Totally up to you. If it's not for you, don't worry. We're going to begin it by just bringing the knees higher in and guiding the knees with our hands just nice and easily, separated just slightly and towards the armpits. Coming into maybe a little version of happy baby where you feel the low back trying to round a little bit. Nice. And after a few breaths of this, you can watch to see if you want to try it. We're going to come into a little half shoulder stand. And what it involves is trying to bring your elbows nice and close into the body, but you're trying to rise up and catch your hips in your hands, and keeping your knees bent. And you just keep trying, once you've caught your hips in your hands, to get your shoulder blades and your elbows a little closer together. Let your neck be as extended as it wants to. And only if it feels okay are you going to extend your legs up. Remember now, wherever you hold with your hands defines the pose. So if you walk your hands further up your back, more weight's going to be on your head. If in fact you hold closer to your hips, more weight will be in your elbows. So I want you to find that sweet spot, pressing out through the balls of the feet for those of you who have come into this half shoulder stand. And once you're there in the full pose, see if you can have 5 full breaths. And you're continuously pressing out through the balls of the feet. And slowly, when you're ready to come out, you bend the knees and you look up, and it looks as though your knees are going to try to land right on your forehead. So spine needs to be quite rounded. And then you've got your hips cradled in your hands, and you're just going to, as slowly and carefully as possible, lay your hips back on the floor again. And have one last full frontal stretch. Any little movement or stretch or pose you need is fine until you can just bring yourself into the most comfortable shavasana that you can manage. Remember, it's nice to separate your legs and bring your arms away from the rib cage and just become aware of the heaviness of your body against the floor. A nice full surrender here. And as your body becomes heavier and heavier, then you can just start to notice the breath. And by this stage, you don't have to necessarily control your breath too much. Just watch the breath with your awareness. You're just letting go of any resistance you feel in any muscle in the body as you just continue to notice the long, slow breathing, and just let the weight of your body surrender to the floor. So in these videos, as we're all at home, it's a lovely way to end in Shavasana. And that will enable you to stay in Shavasana for a few more minutes, if in fact that's what you'd like to do. So enjoy this for as long as you're able. Namaste. Bye for now.